Did you just buy a stainless steel skillet and you are absolutely regretting it because no matter what you cook on this thing, it all seems to stick and you're totally dreading the cleanup? Well, in this video, we're gonna talk about the fundamentals of stainless steel cooking and the most common mistakes new buyers make. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm gonna be upfront with you guys. I love carbon steel skillets. The carbon steel skillet's probably my favorite tool in the kitchen, but I do own one stainless steel skillet. Now, stainless steel skillets are great all-around skillets. They're incredibly light and versatile. They don't require any special cleaning or storage because they don't rust, and they're great at making fond, which makes amazing sauces. The biggest cons to stainless steel skillets are there tends to be a steep learning curve, they're a bit unforgiving, and tend to stick when you don't follow the fundamentals. So, with that being said, I tend to use my stainless steel skillet primarily for dishes that I know I'm going to be creating a sauce out of the fond. If you guys don't know what fond is, it's literally the sticky bits that are left over after you cook your proteins. And those little sticky bits make amazing flavorful sauces by simply adding some onions, maybe some garlic, some white wine or red wine, some wine vinegar, and then some sort of a broth, a chicken broth, or a beef broth, vegetable broth, whatever it is that you want to throw in there. And when you do add that wine and liquid in there, it tends to break down that fond of sticky bits that are really, really flavorful, and they blend smoothly into the sauce, creating an amazing taste. If you ever been to a restaurant where there was a sauce on the menu that you absolutely loved, chances are they used a stainless steel skillet to create that sauce. So, with that being said, let's talk about the stainless steel skillet. If you just bought a stainless steel skillet or you're looking to buy a stainless steel skillet, well, congratulations, because most likely you're looking to up your game and get serious about cooking. A stainless steel skillet, a carbon steel skillet, and a cast iron skillet, in my opinion, are probably the most professional skillets out there and are used most commonly with chefs all around the world. So considering a stainless steel skillet, you're doing pretty good. This particular model here is made by All-Clad. All-Clad is a great company if you're looking to buy stainless steel skillets, but they are kind of pricey. And this specific one is a 3-ply stainless steel skillet. They also come in 5-ply. Now 3-ply and 5-ply, that's just referring to the amount of layers that are added during the manufacturing process. This 3-ply model consists of stainless steel with an aluminum core in the middle, giving you 3 layers of material. And a 5-ply is very similar, just adding 2 additional layers. In my opinion, a 5-ply and a 3-ply stainless steel skillet, usually you can't really tell the difference too much for the average home cook. But if you're a chef at a big restaurant, you may want to invest in a 5-ply. If you want to know more about cast iron, carbon steel, and stainless steel skillets, check out my previous video where I compared the 3 and gave you guys the pros and cons. But in this video, we're going to talk specifically about the stainless steel skillet and why they tend to stick, and the most common things you can do to avoid mistakes as a new buyer. Okay, the first and probably the most common mistake is not buying a high quality stainless steel skillet. Like I said earlier, this is an All-Clad stainless steel skillet. This isn't the most top of the line skillet that you can buy. There's definitely much more expensive skillets out there. But if you notice, this is made out of a solid manufactured piece. There is not a welded plate on the end. One of the most common mistakes that people make is they tend to buy cheaper skillets. Something that's usually advertised at an unbelievable price. Usually if the price is too good to be true, it probably is. And then when they bring it home, they realize it's not performing as well as everyone says it should. Now, there's 2 types of stainless steel skillets out there. And I'm not going to get into the actual materials because of course there's different materials to construct and manufacture these stainless steel skillets. But the cheap skillets have one thing in common. The bottom part of the skillet that rests on the stove is not made of the same material as the rest of the skillet. What I mean by that is on cheaper models, you'll see a plate that's welded on the bottom. Now they do that to, of course, cut costs and make the skillet available at a cheaper price. Now, of course, for a high-end skillet, especially if you're paying the money for it, you shouldn't be buying a skillet that has a welded bottom. You want your stainless steel skillet to be all one constructed piece. And on the cheaper models, you'll tend to see that welded plate on the bottom. Now, the cheaper manufacturers are able to cut that cost and provide it to you at a low price and get away with it by making the construction of the actual stainless steel skillet kind of like a Frankenstein piece. The main skillet, we'll call it the body and the handle, is usually made out of really cheap material. And then they weld on a bottom plate that's usually some form of stainless steel and that's conductive, so you can also use it on your induction stovetops or electrical stovetops or whatever it may be to kind of, make up for the rest of the skillet. Sure, okay, they might have a stainless steel skillet and that plate on the bottom may be higher quality than the rest of it. But then you're getting really bad performance, like not very good heat retention, or what tends to really happen is that bottom plate gets really, really hot, burns your food, causes a huge sticky mess, and then the rest of it's not really conducting the heat as fast as that plate. So you end up getting a really hot zone right in the center and very little heat distribution all the way around. Cheaper manufacturers definitely skimp out on the materials, so you really start to see like a very noticeable heat distribution throughout the whole skillet. And then you get a big sticky mess and basically a stick machine that tends to just ruin your meals, ruin your food, sticks to everything from chicken to steaks to eggs, you name it. So investing in a high quality stainless steel skillet that is one piece usually takes care of most of the issues that new buyers make. But I do recognize that a one-piece stainless steel skillet is pretty pricey, and especially if you guys are just getting into cooking or getting into stainless steel cookware, you probably don't want to just jump to a $150 skillet right away. It's okay to buy those, plated, let's call them budget-friendly skillets, as long as you get it from a good brand. Cuisinart is usually a good brand that you can kind of, rely on. I would avoid anything that's like under $60 or $75. That's usually too good to be true. Don't get it off of eBay. Try to get it off of Amazon and really do your homework and check out the reviews. The great thing about Amazon is if you end up getting something that is not what you ordered or not what you expect, or you can tell right away that it's super cheap, you can always return it, get your money back, or buy a better brand. So, number one mistake, or the most common issue that new beginner buyers make, is not purchasing a high quality stainless steel skillet. Okay, the next most common mistake that new beginners make is not understanding temperature control. Stainless steel skillets are a little tricky. There tends to be a learning curve. And if you watch my previous video, I highly recommend that you start off with a cast iron skillet, because a cast iron skillet really teaches you the fundamentals. And then when you jump to a carbon steel or a stainless steel skillet, you can already have that under your belt and understand how to use temperature control. For example, carbon steel skillets are a little bit less forgiving, and stainless steel skillets are really less forgiving because they both can heat up and cool down really quick, where a cast iron skillet retains heat very slowly and then cools off slowly as well. Where carbon steel and stainless steel, you can easily shoot to the moon and burn your food. So let's talk about stainless steel skillets and temperature control. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if you don't preheat them before starting your cooks, before putting the oil in, and allow the skillet to get up to operating temperature, So in other words, if your skillet's too cold when you're starting to cook, it's gonna turn into an absolute sticky mess because the skillet hasn't had enough time to get hot. And when you put your food on there, your food's cold, your skillet's cold, and they're both kind of heating up together, kind of infusing. You don't want that. Another big mistake that people make is they may allow the skillet to heat up, but then they put their oil in and they don't allow the oil to heat up to operating temperature before putting the food in. And that does the same exact thing. Your oil's kind of still cold, or maybe not as hot as it should be, and then you put your food in, your meat, whatever it may be, and that automatically sticks right away. Okay, you may have allowed the skillet to heat up to operating temperature. You may have allowed the oil to heat up to operating temperature, but as soon as you put your food in, you notice that your food is burning and you don't dial your temperature lower to get that happy middle. Depending on what you're cooking, for example, you could be cooking a steak where you want to crank the temperature as high as possible because you want to sear that steak, and that may be okay. But then if you cook something like fish or scrambled eggs, you definitely don't want that temperature at the highest setting. Really, cooking is all about heat and time, how hot everything is and how much time it's going to take to cook it. So my advice to you guys is when you preheat your skillet, a really simple test for you guys to do is when you preheat your skillet, just spray some water with your fingertips and you'll instantly see little beads of water that will quickly evaporate. If that happens, then you know that your skillet has preheated. When you add your oil into your skillet, allow it to heat up. It usually takes about 20 to 30 seconds, depending on how hot your skillet is. But an easy way to tell is try to get to a flat plane and look at the skillet, and you should start to see a little bit of smoke forming. Now, not a lot of smoke, just enough where you kind of have to get down and level with the pan to see the smoke. Once you see that, you know that your oil is at operating temperatures and you can throw your food in. Once you throw your food in, dial in your temperatures either to medium or medium low, depending on what you're cooking, and you should be okay. Now, it's hard for me to gauge that because I don't know what you're cooking, but all that kind of comes with experience. The more that you use your skillet, don't be afraid of it. In the beginning, yes, there's a learning curve, but the more that you use it, the more you're gonna get familiar with it and the food that you're cooking, and you'll be off to a good start. So in summary, if your skillet and your oil is too cold, it's gonna stick. And if your skillet or your oil is too hot, it's gonna burn and stick. But stay cool. The more you use it, the better you guys are gonna get acquainted, and before you know it, you'll be making great food. The next biggest mistake that new beginners make is not adding enough oil or fat. There's no way around it, guys. I'm sorry, but a stainless steel skillet is not a cast iron or carbon steel skillet. It's not naturally non-stick. You need to give it oil or fat in order for it to do its job. Again, go watch my previous video where I get into a lot of details about stainless steel skillets and cast irons and carbon steel skillets, but essentially a stainless steel skillet's really good for creating fond. So in other words, you kind of benefit from stainless steel sticking a bit. They naturally stick. They will release your food if you add enough oil or butter or whatever it is that you're gonna be using, and you can avoid it sticking and peeling your food away as long as you allow it to heat up properly, and of course, you add enough oil. It needs enough oil or fat to do its job. It's just how it is. There's no way around it. Just gotta deal with it. The next biggest mistake that new users make is not allowing the food to naturally release from the skillet. What do I mean by that? There's certain foods that, yes, like scrambled eggs or so forth, yeah, you need to keep moving or keep lifting the skillet off to allow it to cool and, stabilize. But when you're cooking proteins like steaks, chickens, even fish, they all have that sweet spot. Remember, we talked about temperature control. When you're cooking a steak, for example, you may have it on high heat and you're searing. If you try to peel that steak away before it's had the opportunity to caramelize and render, you're basically gonna try to flip it and peel it away when it's not ready to be moved yet, and it's basically gonna hang on to dear life. And again, with stainless steel skillets, they're not very forgiving. So if you try to move your protein too soon, before it's gotten that seared layer and released on its own, it's gonna peel, it's gonna stick. The same thing with chicken. Now remember, temperature control. You're not gonna have chicken searing at the highest heat. You might be at medium high. And for fish, it's the same thing. If you're cooking salmon or whatever, As long as you have enough oil in there and you preheated the skillet and the oil and everything, was good beforehand, allow your protein to fully sear. And then they should naturally release on their own and you should be able to flip them. An easy way to tell is if you shake the skillet a bit and you see it naturally release, it's ready to flip. If it's still sticking and hanging on for dear life, give it a couple of minutes and it should release. You can also try to just kind of wiggle it a little bit and just get a feel for it. If it's really resisting, leave it alone. It's not done searing yet. As long as you don't see a lot of smoke building, you're good to go. Let it caramelize and then go ahead and flip it. Okay, I wanted to kind of do a demonstration and show you guys how non-stick a stainless steel skillet can be. Now, most of you guys out there probably know that when you're trying to cook scrambled eggs in a stainless steel skillet, it can be a nightmare. Well, I've cooked a lot of great food on my stainless steel skillet. And look, admittedly, I don't grab for this skillet every time I want to make scrambled eggs. I usually grab a carbon steel skillet instead, but I wanted to make a point. So in this clip here, I actually decided to make these breakfast tortilla scrambled eggs and roasted tomato dish. If you notice, I also cooked some tortillas. And I did this on purpose. I purposely added the tortillas before the oil was hot enough, and you can see that it turned into an absolute sticky mess on the first tortilla. But then when I added the next corn tortilla in there, because the oil had gotten to operating temperatures and everything was nice and hot, it was fine. I mean, it was flipping just fine. But then I did another thing on purpose. I didn't dial in my temperatures. I let that oil get hotter and hotter, and of course the tortillas stuck. So then I started over again, preheated my skillet, added the oil, and then made sure that the oil was preheated accordingly, and then I added the tortillas. But when I did that, I lowered the temperature, and you can see that I had no issues with the remaining tortillas. Temperature control is really important. Again, with stainless steel, it's really important. So I ended up cooking the tortillas. Everything came out really good. Beforehand, I prepared the onions, the corn, and the roasted tomatoes, and I gotta tell you guys, it smelled delicious. I wish you guys could smell it through, your screens. And then next came the eggs. Now, I love my eggs in butter, but look, here's a pro tip for everybody. Butter has a very low smoking point, so it burns really, really easily. And if you're adding butter to a dish, it's usually being added mainly for flavor. So, pro tip, always add a little bit of oil before you put in the butter. The oil actually keeps the butter from burning and smoking. So I added just a little bit of oil, made sure the oil got into operating temperatures, and then I lowered the skillet to about medium-low before adding in the butter. As you guys can see here, the butter looks good. It's not burning. There's not a rancid look to it, and everything was good to go. And look, admittedly, you don't need that much butter, okay? I'm not trying to give you guys a wrong impression. You don't need to, put in a gallon of oil or butter in order for stainless steel skillets to work. We just really like butter with our eggs, and I think I was making about 6 eggs total, or I think six or 5 eggs. So there's a lot of eggs. I wanted to make sure there was enough butter for flavoring. But anyways, I added the butter and then the eggs went in there. And as you guys can see, I made sure to monitor the temperatures, and literally the scrambled eggs were just floating on the skillet. Stainless steel skillets are more than capable, and they can be non-stick. It just requires a little bit more work. Anyways, the breakfast turned out to be amazing, and I love my stainless steel skillets. I've cooked some amazing things with them, and there's never been any issues. Okay, now let's talk about cleanup. Again, stainless steel skillets are prone to sticking. I mean, that's what they're good for creating that fond for sauces. Sometimes you may have done almost everything right, but you may have made one crucial little mistake, like the temperature was too high for a little while, or whatever. Maybe the skillet wasn't completely preheated properly, and you threw in your food 10 seconds too early. I don't know. The point is, sometimes food just sticks. So how do you clean them up? Well, a very easy and affordable investment that you can make is to buy a plastic scraper. And it helps a lot. You can just scrape off the bits that are kind of stubborn. And if you pair that with a cheap 99-cent store or Dollar Tree brush, that you can kind of just brush the stainless steel skillet with, then that also really, really helps. Scotch-Brite is another good thing you can have readily available if you really have, problems with sticky bits, but keep in mind, Scotch-Brite will remove that really cool, brand new stainless steel look. As you guys can see with my stainless steel skillet, I mean, I've used this for a long time, and it doesn't have that cool, shiny new look anymore. It's just seen a lot of use. Another really cool trick that you can do, remember we talked about fond, right? When you have those sticky bits and you're trying to make a sauce out of them. So if you really have some stubborn sticky bits, or if you really messed up and the whole pan's just covered in food, a really easy solution is to just pour some water in the skillet and put it back on the stovetop and let that boil. Let it come up to a boil like you're gonna create a sauce, like you're using the fond, and those sticky bits will naturally break down, and you should be able to just, scrape them off very easily with even a silicone spatula. And that's another easy way to really take care of a big sticky mess. Okay, so what are my final thoughts on this stainless steel skillet? For those of you guys that may have bought a cheaper skillet and you're realizing now that it wasn't the best quality, that's okay. We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes. If you're still in your return period and you can give it back to Amazon or Walmart or wherever you bought it from, do that and really invest in a better, higher quality skillet like All-Clad. All-Clad's a great company. The 3-ply stainless steel skillet, sometimes you can find it on Amazon for $100. And it comes with a lid, so I think it's a great value. But if you can't return it, I understand. It happens to all of us. It sucks. Sometimes we just get burnt. As long as we learn from it, we're okay. For me personally, a stainless steel skillet is a great skillet, and I do like it. And over the years, I have learned to use it effectively. My wife absolutely loves the stainless steel skillet, and I think she really loves it because it's really light and it heats up and cools down real quick. She hasn't quite fully mastered the non-stick abilities. Sometimes it's just a complete mess, but she'll shove it in the sink and she knows I'll eventually get to it. That's okay, she's getting better. And as long as she's using it and she's making great food, I'm happy. So I think for us, one stainless steel skillet is more than enough, and we dedicate that for specific things. And if you buy one, it sounds like you're on the right track and you are looking to up your game. So congratulations on your new stainless steel skillet. I really hope this video was informative. Hopefully I gave you guys some basic fundamental tips and some tips for making sure you don't get a sticky mess and making cleanup a little bit more manageable. Honestly guys, if you do the boiling water thing, I'm confident 99% of the time, that's gonna get rid of all those sticky bits that are stubborn, and you should be able to clean it really quick. So that's kind of like my last resort. But as you guys saw from the egg test, it didn't stick at all. Scrambled eggs didn't stick. I could have literally just blew the eggs out of the pan and it would have been fine. So, I think I just wiped it down. That's how clean it was. And of course I washed it, but I could just wipe it down and it was good to go. Leave me a comment below on any other issues that you guys are having, and I'll try to give you guys some tips and address them. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Take care, everybody. Hey everybody, how'd you guys like that last video? Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified on my next video. And if you can, please share with your family and friends. I would really appreciate it. Here's some more content that I think you guys are really gonna enjoy. Check them out. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.